Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are meeting today to discuss the Sidur. We are on page 16 in the article Sidur, on page 16. We are at the end of Elu Devorim. Here, just at the end, yeah, at the very, very end. Have you been with us last week, Claudia?
No, I don't think Monday's normally.
Oh, right. I forgot. Okay. So what we discussed last week was that in that, because we are on that very top of that page, we've got the blessing of Torah, and because we can't do a blessing in vain, we have to always start using on what we have blessed. When you make a blessing on an apple, on a cup of water, then you have to drink the water immediately. You can't leave. You can't make a blessing and then get engaged with a different activity and then go back to drink. You have to immediately after making the blessing, you have to start getting involved with the activity for which you have made the blessing on. So if you made a blessing on Torah, then what's the automatic activity which you have to start doing?
Read the Torah.
Read the Torah, okay? And because the Torah is made out of so many different things, we've got scripture, we've got 5 books of Moses, and we've got the Talmud, we've got the Mishnah, we've got different things, page 16. We've got scripture, we've got 5 books of Moses, and we've got the Talmud, we've got the Mishnah, we've got different things, page 16. So therefore, we are learning an excerpt of everything in order to be sure that blessing which we did, that it's not a blessing in vain. This is my good friend Jacob. Well, I think so, yeah. I have to check it out. That's water with sparkling.
There's one here.
And there's still water. Yeah, I have still water. Yeah. So basically, the point is that what we did in the last 2 or 3 weeks, that we went through the Torah first, then we went through the Mishnah, and last week we started Elu Dvarim She'adam Ochel Perotei Ba'olam Hazeh, which is all the things which are brought down in the Talmud. This is an excerpt of the Gemara in Shabbat, and the Gemara there is talking about mitzvahs which a person can do, which have got no limitation of the amount of whatever you do. For example, one of the things which is listed here is honoring father and mother, Kibbud Avraham. There's no limit to this. You can do as much Kibbud Avraham as you want. And as much as you do, you're going to be, as more as you do, the reward will be more. So the last thing which we've got here, let's just go over them quickly. The first one was Kibbud Avraham, is honoring father and mother. The next one was acting in kindness to anybody who comes across your way. The next one was, page 16, the next one was that we are getting up early in the morning to get into the synagogue, Hashkanat Beit HaMidrash. They're always trying to be one of the first 10 which are going to attend the synagogue. The next one, not only in the morning, but also in the evening, Shachrit Ve'avit. The next one was to invite guests. There's no limitation. It doesn't mean that you have to invite 5 guests, 10 guests, 50 guests, 100 guests. You can invite as many as you want, and as more as you invite, as better it is. To Bikur Cholim is to visit the sick people. If you go to visit a sick person, then this is a great mitzvah. Another great mitzvah is to contribute towards the costs of a young girl or an old girl which is getting married. Achnasat kala, yeah. If you get a kala which is poor, she can't afford to pay her own wedding. Not only the evening of the wedding, but to start building a Jewish home, having enough vessels at home for milky, for dairy, and for meaty, or for Pesach and for the whole year, whatever it should be. Just make it a comfortable home for a newlywed couple. This is a big mitzvah. And then we had the mitzvah of going to a funeral. Levayat HaMes is a big mitzvah, and we spent a few minutes on that mitzvah, because one of the things... Boris, you're still welcome. One of the reasons why Levayat HaMes is such a great mitzvah, why is going to a funeral such a great mitzvah? Because you cannot expect any thank you from anybody. That person is not to my funeral. That person is not going to say thank you, wait, that you came to the funeral. And therefore, you are really doing it only for the sake of the mitzvah. The next thing which we said, and there we stopped last week, is to make sure that there is peace between people. Okay, this was very much connected to last week's parsha. In Parshas Korach, we had somebody who was trying to rebel against someone else. Yeah? Korach was trying to rebel against Moses, Moshe Rabbeinu, and he pulled with himself 250 people, which also tried to rebel. So essentially, there was a split created in the camp. People were fighting against each other. And this is not nice. It would be much nicer if we've got peace. Actually, there's an interesting pasuk in this week's parsha, which emphasizes exactly the opposite, because in this week's parsha, we have Parshat Chukat. Yeah? The parsha starts with the mitzvah of Parah Adumah. And when that topic of the red heifer is finished, which takes the whole chapter 19 in this week's parsha, when it comes to the next chapter, chapter 20, and the words of the Torah is this: Vayavo kol kehal adat Yisrael midbar tzin. They all came to midbar tzin, and the way the Torah expresses this is that the whole community came to midbar tzin, which means that there's an emphasis on the point that there is no machloket. Nobody is upset with anybody. Everybody is united. They are all one community. They are not different community. Ashkenazi and Sephardi and Taimani and I don't know what, and French and Spanish and English and Italian. They're all one, and they're all looking forward to coming to Israel. But at the same time, they are also complaining against Moshe because they don't have water. Why? Because Miriam just died. So the water stopped, the flow of water stopped with Miriam's passing together. And they're coming to Moses and saying, we need water. But who is coming? They're all coming together. So it's not a question of a disagreement between somebody and someone else. It's a fact that they don't have water. And they are all concerned about that fact. And that's why they come all together, which is completely the opposite of Parshat Korach, where people were splitting among themselves and they had a problem within the camp itself. So this is what it says here at the end. It's a great, great mitzvah to make sure there's always going to be peace between people and between husband and wife. Shalom Bayit. Shalom Bayit is one of the most amazing things. Yeah, when you know that there's a husband and a wife which are married and they can't get on for some reason, whatever the case should be, and you are trying to create peace. You are trying to talk to the wife, to the husband, to whoever it is, and then we are trying to create Shalom Bayit. What's the first example of somebody who tried to do this in the Torah? Where somebody in the Torah tried to fix a marriage.
Okay, a long time.
It was a long time ago.
Jacob?
Jacob tried to fix a marriage. How?
No, Jacob's father.
Isaac.
Yeah. Isn't that what happened with Leah and with Rachel?
No, that's well. There was no fight. It's later. Huh?
Hashem tried to tell Avram to listen to Sarah.
Okay.
Would it be Bathsheba?
Hashem is trying to say. Okay.
Hashem even was neshama in order to bring Shalom Bayit.
Okay, fine. That's nice. It's true, but it's not a man trying to do this. You can't apply this Mishnah to Hashem. You could actually apply it because according to Zohar, everything which happens in this world also has to happen in the other one. So the Baruch Hu is bound to this mitzvah as well. But let's stay on earth. Okay? Let's stay on earth. Who on earth was the first person which is recorded who tried to fix a marriage? And that is Miriam. After Amram got divorced from Yocheved, not for a reason, not for an ill reason, yeah. There was no machloket between them. They had a good reason why they got divorced. But Miriam came along and she said, "You are worse than Paro, because Paro only wants to kill the boys, and you, by getting divorced, don't even allow girls to get born." Right? So what did she do? She put together a marriage which was broken. There can be any reasons for a divorce. It can be good reasons, can be any reasons. And the Gemara says that for a couple which is in a first marriage which gets divorced, even the mizbeach is shedding tears. Can you hear this? The mizbeach, you know what the mizbeach is? A mizbeach is an altar. In the Beit HaMikdash, one of the vessels, there were two vessels. There were two pieces of furniture, not vessels, two pieces of furniture. One piece of furniture was the big mizbeach made out of copper. On that, you were sacrificing animals. And then there was another mizbeach, another altar, which was a golden altar inside the Beit HaMikdash, which was only used to bring incense on it, ktoret. On that mizbeach, which is outside, where you sacrifice animals, the Gemara says that if a couple which is married for the first time, no matter what the reason is, if they get divorced, then that mizbeach, morid alav demaot, is shedding tears because of that. What a weird thing. A mizbeach is shedding tears. How does that work? How does that? Let's say it works. Okay, let's say the mizbeach is shedding tears. What has the mizbeach got to do with the couple?
Is this the mizbeach outside the door, the temple?
Yes, not outside the temple, no, inside the temple, but outside in the outer court.
In the outer court, right.
Yeah, mizbeach on the choshet.
Yeah. Is this where they brought the sacrifices onto
yes.
on that mizbeach? They burnt them on the mizbeach.
Yeah, so they slaughtered the sacrifices next to the mizbeach.
Right.
They cut the animal open, and what has to be put on top of the mizbeach, they would take up and burn on top of the mizbeach. Yeah. So that very mizbeach is going to shed tears because a couple is getting divorced. Why is that? How is that connected?
Because it's the same place that there is the Shekhinah of Hashem, like in the both place, like in the couple,
okay,
there is a Shekhinah of Hashem.
Very good, and therefore that's very good. You are getting on the right route. So Nomi is saying, because in the same way as a couple, as we pointed out yesterday, actually, ish ve'isha, the only difference between the word ish and isha is that an ish you write with a yud, and an isha you write with an hey at the end. If an ish, a man, and an isha, a woman, come together, then you get together the name of Hashem. Yud and hey will be settled into that marriage because there's an ish and an isha together. So we've got the Shekhinah there. So Nomi says that in the same way, by the mizbeach, there's also the Shekhinah, that the holy presence is there because that's where it's in the Beit HaMikdash. That's true. But the Maral says the following thing. That's the beginning of the answer. The answer is this. In order for a marriage to exist, we need sacrifice. The husband has to sacrifice a lot to the woman because the females are made up from a complete different DNA as males. Okay, females have got a different mind. We spoke about this yesterday, that they've got a lot of bina, they've got much more understanding than males have got. Males have got different other things in which they are good. Okay, women are working a lot with emotions, men are working more with rationale. So a lot of times what happens is a woman will not understand what the rationale is behind something because emotionally she wants it like this. And sometimes it works, it's really miraculous. Or if you follow the advice of your wife, even though you don't understand it rationally, it's impossible to understand, but at the end of the day, she's right. This is what it is. So it's all about being able to sacrifice your own ego, sacrifice your own idea. Just listening to your wife by sacrificing. And that is exactly what a mizbeach is. A mizbeach is here to bring sacrifices. So if you are not able to bring sacrifices, then the mizbeach cries tears because it sees that you haven't learned anything. You haven't learned what it means to be bringing a sacrifice. And this is,
But it's funny because most of the sacrifices are when you do a sin.
Actually not.
Really?
Yes. And you know which one is the most sacred sacrifice? Which one is the most holy sacrifice?
Is it Ola?
No. You would have thought so because you're burning the whole.
Yeah.
It's not the Ola. The Ola is the lowest on the list. The holiest is the Shlomim. The Shlomim, and the reason for that is the Rambam says in what are called the Rambam says that Shlomim is the holiest sacrifice because it leaves you the longest time to eat it. So you've got the longest time to elevate the sparks which are hidden in that meat.
What's the Shlomim?
Shlomim is a korban which you just bring because you want to bring a korban. No reason.
Isn't that in the Mishnah that you say?
Yes, just before the first Kaddish. Exactly. Okay, so the Shlomim is a korban which you can eat for the longest period, so it gives you the longest opportunity to work with that sacrifice. So that's what it is. A sacrifice is
you eat that over the longest period?
Yes.
How many days?
I think 2 days and a night.
Does
it stay fresh?
Well,
before.
the meat of a korban Shlomim. What's a Shlomim called in English now? How does it translate?
Peace offering.
Yeah, I know, but I don't like that. Because it's not always a peace offering. Shlomim can also mean a complete offering. Shalem. Yeah.
It doesn't really get a translation.
No?
It just says it's the most holy offering.
It does say. Yes. There it says the following thing.
Yeah, also
it doesn't say it here. Okay, but anyway, the point is.
How does the article translate it?
Yeah, that's what I was like. They translate peace offering, but peace offering, I don't like that translation because shlamim can be peace. It can mean shalom, but it can also mean shalem, which means complete. Yeah, right. It's an offering which is complete. But in any event, the point is that mizbeach which you use, the altar which you use in order to sacrifice, has got a very strong connection to a marriage. And because in a marriage you have to sacrifice as well, and if you don't know how to sacrifice, then one which is sacrifices is. Huh? If then sacrifices, that's why the Mizbeach is going to shed tears.
Yeah.
And the point is that this is what this Mishnah says: that to bring peace between husband and wife, also between other people, is one of the biggest things which you can do. Now, the last thing, which we did not learn last week, is the Talmud Torah connected to learning of Torah overweighs all these which we have just said. Okay, so Talmud Torah is one of the most amazing things which can be done, and the reason for that is this is connected to what we spoke about around Shavuos time. Talmud Torah, learning Torah. What's learning Torah? Why is it so important to learn Torah? Why is it so important to get involved with the teachings of the Torah?
It's the blueprint of our existence.
Well, how are you going to know what to do if you don't have instruction?
It's also the most holy thing you can do, isn't it? It's more holy than daily prayer, even though daily prayer is an absolute requirement as well.
You're meant to read the Torah every
the most
day.
honourable thing you can do.
Okay, so let's order this. You are saying because it is
The most honourable, holy thing you can do.
the most holy thing which you can do is learning Torah, even holier than prayers. This is what you are suggesting. You are saying it's because it's the blueprint of
It's our wisdom.
Exactly, and Nomi is saying because how do we want to? Because all the things which were listed before are included in Torah.
You
right?
learn them.
We-
You learn them
From the Torah, exactly. And you are saying, because how do we want to know how to do mitzvahs if we didn't have the Torah
Well, we all
first?
need an instruction manual. You don't just buy a new piece of it. You have to have, you find out, you ask the guy how to use it. You find out there's a manual, you ask someone how to use it.
Exactly. So that is definitely one of the most important reasons. And I will add on another reason, which we spoke about in Shavuos time, and that is the following. Torah is made out of letters. Yes, so we mentioned this on this last Shabbat as well, so maybe it's a good idea to repeat it because it hasn't been recorded anywhere before. And now we can record it. So the Ramban in his revert to the commentary on Torah explains the following thing. An amazing concept. He says that before Kodesh Baruch Hu created the world, the Zohar tells us that there were three things in existence. There was a Kodesh Baruch Hu, there was Torah, and there was also the concept of having somebody who will follow the Torah, which is called Klal Israel. That we are the Klal Israel, this is something which came into being through history. But it was known before the world was created, it was known that you can only have a world, and the world will only be useful if there's going to be a Jewish nation, if there's going to be a Torah, and if there's going to be a God which is running the whole show. All these three things had to exist before the world came into existence. Now that Hashem exists before that is a clear-cut case, because Hashem is above time, is above space, is above anything, so we are not going to dispute the fact that Hashem existed before. Klal Israel is something which is also understandable, because if we need a concept of somebody who is going to follow and to perfect the whole thing, then we need, let's call him Israel, doesn't matter. But what does Torah mean? It can't be that when we say Torah that we are talking about the scroll which is in the Aron HaKodesh, because for that we need parchment, we need ink, we need a person to write it, and none of this existed before the world. So if we minimize this, where are we getting to? We are getting to words, and if we minimize it further, then we get to letters. Torah, says the Ramban, was letters. And it was a scramble of letters, many, many letters, so 22 letters, but a lot of them, which did have no form, there was no order in how they were written. And every time when Hashem commanded something, and every time when a human being did something, what it then actually means is we took out words, letters out of this scramble box, and we put them in a specific order. And this is what Torah is. So when we have, what's the first order, what's the first thing which came into being? Are the words, Bereshit, bara, Elokim, et hashamayim, et haaretz. Light. Then we've got, Vayomer Elokim yehi or, there shall be light. Then we've got, Hashem said, there shall be a moon and a sun and everything else, yeah? Every time when Hashem says there shall be something, he's taking single letters out of that scramble and he puts them in a specific order. And this is how Torah is being built. This is when we speak about a blueprint, then that blueprint comes into being through taking those letters out of that scramble and putting them in a specific order so that we have got what we need. If we take it even further, I repeated it last Shabbat, and I said that when the Gemara says that on Rosh Hashanah, Kodesh Baruch Hu sits there and takes out all the books from his bookcase and he reads the books in order to determine what kind of year we should have in the future year. And there are, how many books are there? How many books does it? No. How many books has Hashem got on Rosh Hashanah when he determines what kind of year he wants to give us for the next year? We've got 3 books, yeah? There's one book for the Tzadikim, there's one book for the Rashaim, and there's one book for the Beinonim, which are the ones in the middle. The Rashaim are signed off for a bad year, the Tzadikim are signed off for a good year, and the Beinonim of the Baruch Hu waits until Yom Kippur. Maybe somebody did tshuva, and he will slip into the correct book, and if not, then he will slip into the other book, right? Now, who is writing these books? What do you think? Who is writing? And you don't answer because you know the answer. Who writes those books? So usually when we ask children, they say Hashem is writing those books. But I can tell you, no, you are writing those books yourself. With your actions, what you are doing, and literally you're taking out letters from you're taking out those letters from the scramble, and are you hearing? Okay, you're taking out letters from that book, from that scramble thing, and you put them in an order so that it is written in your book what the history is. So when Hashem takes this book afterwards and he says I shockel the Lula from Sukkot, And why is it written there? Not because somebody went there with a stilo and he started to write something into his book. It's you yourself, through doing this action, you took those letters out of that thing and you wrote it. So history is still being made and the creation is still made. Hamechadesh bechol yom tamid ma'aseh bereshit means exactly that. That everybody through his action keeps on being part in the creation. It's through the actions which we do. And of course, our actions today are very silly, you could argue, but no, they're not very silly. Because if we wouldn't do mitzvahs, and if we wouldn't learn Torah, then this whole thing wouldn't have an existence. So our actions are extremely important. They are terribly important, because without our actions, there will be a big chunk of creation missing here. Okay? So this is what the Ramban says at the beginning of his commentary to Bereshit. If we understand that, then we will understand how important it is to learn Torah. Because if this is what it means to be part of creation, then essentially this means that we carry on writing Torah. It's not only about writing a chidush in Torah. It's not only about writing something which a new halacha, a new whatever it is. But if you go to a rabbi and you ask him a question, am I allowed to do this and that, or how should I do this and that? And the rabbi will think about it and he will write an answer, then that is, you triggered a chunk of Torah. And therefore, Torah must be more important than all the things that are before. Because essentially it means that we keep on writing Torah. This is what we are doing. Talmud Torah keneged kulam. And therefore we also receive the highest reward for learning Torah. Yes, does everybody agree? And everybody follows me. Good.
So if you're learning and nightfall's coming, you haven't done mincha.
Right.
Skip mincha because it's more important to learn Torah.
No, because Torah tells you that you have to make a break and you have to daven mincha.
Yeah.
So what's the
but
point?
You just said it was more important to learn Torah.
Exactly. Of course, it's more important, but of course you have to learn Torah in the proper way.
Yeah.
Well, how do you learn? For example, if you are learning, you are going to law university. Yeah, you are learning law. And then you would say that, you know what, I'm not going to apply that law because I'm busy with something else now. No, that's not the correct way to do it. You have to apply that law because learning that law showed you that that's the law which you have to do, and that's why you're applying it. You're learning Torah, and it's not about knowledge and wisdom alone. It's about, as you said yourself, it's about how will I know how to conduct my life.
So it's the application of it.
It's, of course, it's both sides, right? We have to learn practical things. We are not learning only practical things. We are learning Kabbalah, we are learning Midrash, we are learning Drush, we are learning Mishnah, we are learning things which are not even applicable today. People are busy learning how did the sacrifices work in the temple. We are learning this week in the Parsha, we are learning about the halachot of Parah Aduma. Is it applicable today? The answer is no. Unless Moshiach will turn up now immediately and we will need a red heifer, then it will be applicable. But at the moment, as we stand at this second, it's not applicable. And we still use time, we invest time in order to learn it. It's a whole chapter in Sefer Bamidbar. The whole chapter 19 is busy explaining how to slaughter a red heifer, how to find a red heifer, and how to burn it, and how to use its ashes. And who has to use its ashes? Why are we learning? Why are we spending time on this? Because this is very important. We need to know this. And through learning this, we will come to other wisdom as well. Okay, so this is why Talmud Torah is connected to Kulam. Everybody clear? Good. So let's turn the page and let's go to Elohay neshama, which is the title of today's talk. So we have got on page 18 on the top, Elohay. Once we have done the blessings on the Torah, we are now done with this, and we are going to the next stage. And we are saying, God, neshama shenatata bi teorahi. The soul you have placed within me is pure. Ata verata, you have created it. Ata yetzarta, you have fashioned it. Ata nefachah bi, and you have breathed it into me. Ve'ata meshamra bekirbi, and you are safeguarding it within me. Ve'ata asid litla mimeni, and you will in the future take it away from me. Ulehachzira bi le'asid laro, and you will also return it to me in the world to come, in the future time. Now, let's stop here for a second. What did we say? We say, first of all, we are making a statement in order to recognize what our soul really is. First of all, our soul is pure. This is a very, very important point. We have to understand that there isn't such a thing as a Jew which is impure. There might be wicked people around. There might be wicked, but the people themselves are not wicked. Whatever surrounds them are wicked. If somebody is giving someone else trouble, that person in itself, in his core, is not really wicked. His surroundings, he's got reasons around him, he's got clippers, he's got shells which are covering him up, which are making him seem to be wicked. But his core in himself is completely pure. And why is that? Because every Jew is carrying a chelek elokah mima'al mamash. Every Jew is carrying a complete holy spark in him. And that holy spark is undestroyable. It's impossible to destroy it. It's something which is inside every Jew. And no matter how many sins you have done in your life, and no matter how wicked you think that you were in your life, nobody is really wicked. It's only the things which are encompassing him, which make him look or seem wicked. But inside his core, everybody is pure. This is the first statement here. Elokai neshama shenotata bi te'orahi. That soul is completely tahor.
That's completely different to Christianity. It's not what's there.
That's why we are Jewish.
Right. But just to say, they're not in any way similar.
No, absolutely not. Yes, and
It's the
unfortunately,
exact
They say it's the other way around, don't they? They say they're born with the original sin or something. Is that right?
Yeah.
We're born with- We don't say we're born with sin.
No, absolutely not. We are born completely
That's why they're
pure,
baptized.
and
Right.
and during our lifetime we collect wickedness.
Right.
But that's the beauty of being a Jew, that we've got at least once a year the option to get away from it. Because when we do tshuva, when we come back to Yom Kippur, then we can get rid of all that. And I pointed out yesterday, whoever was, not yesterday, on Shabbat it was, that actually, if we take it very serious and very exact, it's not about being serious, it's about realizing that every Rosh Chodesh, we have got this opportunity as well. Because on Rosh Chodesh, on the Musaf prayer of Rosh Chodesh, we say, Zman kapara lechol toldotam. Rosh Chodesh is a time of atonement for all the generations, for everybody who comes in the future. Rosh Chodesh is also a Zman kapara. There are many different times of atonement in the year. So, for example, if somebody gets married and they on that day which they get married, Chatan and Kala have got a Yom Kippur themselves. It's a new Yom Kippur for them. Yeah. So there are different times of atonement which are around. But the point is, why do we need all these atonement times? Because the neshama itself is always pure, definitively pure, and never changeable. From day of birth until the day you die, this core will never change. It's immutable, that's the word. Yeah? It's immutable. You cannot do anything to it. It's always going to say the same. And if you see wicked people, it's not the people which are wicked, it's their deeds which are wicked. And when you pray in the Amida, Velamanshinim Alti Tikva, for example, there's one bracha in the Amida which is called Velamalshinim, where we pray that all the wicked people should be outrooted. Then we are not praying that that person should be outrooted. We are praying that his wickedness should be outrooted.
But if his wickedness doesn't change, then we have to hold that person responsible, correct?
Yes, but one of the things which we can do is we can sit him down and show them where they are.
Yeah, we can't sit Hitler down and show him
Hitler is not a
error
Jew.
of his
Hitler
ways.
is not a Jew.
Right.
Yeah, I'm talking
saying
about
that.
Jews.
Okay, but there are wicked Jews as well.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So we have to do what we can, what is in our power, in order to try and bring them to a bit of sensibility. That's the word. On page 105, you've got that bracha, which is called Birkat Minim. Even it's called it's a bracha against the heretics. Yeah, and we say all different kinds of things. How we are trying 105. Sorry, how we are trying to outroot the wickedness of these people, but we are not trying to outroot the people themselves. We are trying to outroot the wickedness which surrounds them.
Redemption, you mean?
No, Vela Mancini. One page further.
You know, there's also
Sorry, 106.
106.
Yeah, 106.
You know, there's also reason is it doesn't ask them to be eradicated.
Who is it?
It doesn't ask them to be eradicated or destroyed.
No,
It says for
exactly.
them to be humbled. It
Exactly.
doesn't say for them to be.
Exactly.
It says, may your enemies be cut down speedily. It's almost the same thing.
Yeah, but we have to think not about the person. We have to think about the actions.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
actual
that's my
assault.
point. The point is we always think about the actions and not about, because the person himself, there's no point to down for this, because the core of that person is always going to be
Yeah, it says, can you
something.
speed the uproot, smash, cast down, and
Exactly.
humble them. So
Exactly. That's at the end of the day, we are asking them to humble them, to put them down, to bring them back into their place. And
here, are we talking about heretics being Jewish or not Jewish?
Jews. We only talk about Jews. My point is always only about Jews. I'm not responsible.
Oh, so when we double here, so against the
Well, you'd be a
heretics,
heretic
it's Jews. We're
otherwise.
talking. We're referring to Jews.
Yes,
here.
yes, of course.
Oh,
I mean,
right.
they can be a heretic, really, can't they? Because they're
In
not
their
a Jew,
mind, they
yeah.
can be a heretic, but as I say, they can never get away from their core, which is
It's like
immutable.
Jesus is a heretic, right?
Exactly. And we've got
He
other
was a
ones.
Jew, yeah.
Elisha ben Navuya was one. There's Acher. There are many others which we know in history. The Gemara brings many of them. Yeah. So, but the core itself will never change.
So we pray for them to change their ways first.
Exactly. That would be the correct way.
Before we pursue them physically.
Exactly.
Pray for them first.
Exactly. We always pray for
So when it
anyone.
talks about enemies here, we're referring to the Jewish people.
Yes. but
Enemies
we
of the Jewish people.
Yes.
Within the enemies,
Yes,
within
everything
so the
within.
Erev Rav and these types.
Exactly. No, Erev Rav is not Jewish,
Oh,
but
not
Erev
Jewish.
Rav are Egyptians which followed.
Yeah. How about the spies? Would they be considered?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, the spies will be, and there's a whole discussion in the Gemara in Sanhedrin if they've got the space, if they've got a place in the world to come or not because of that.
Right. Were the spies given a chance to repent?
Where the spies.
So we pray for them. Shouldn't we give them a chance to repent first?
All right. So
I know, because the ground swallowed them up. No, they went.
they would have been given. Yes, actually they were given a chance to repent,
Right.
because what happened was when the spies were standing on that platform and starting to give their report, and there's one pasuk where it says Vayahas Kalev Vayomer, and Kalev butted in and quieted them down and said what he thought. And he said, that land is an amazing land, and it will be hard, but we will manage to conquer it. So he quieted them down, he made them silent for a moment in order to put his points on the table. But then they came back and they gave much more back. They said, no, it's impossible, we will all die there, and it will be impossible to conquer it. We better go back to Egypt. So instead of using that moment of silence and to repent and to stay quiet, they came back and they were louder than at the beginning. Okay, so they missed the opportunity there. There's another question there. Why didn't Moshe pray for them that they should be sin? The same way as he prayed for Yeshua, but this is a topic for another time. Okay, but my point here is to make sure that we all understand that it's not about trying to eradicate a person as a whole, but it's all about trying to eradicate his deeds. Why? Because Elokai neshama shenotat bit teorahi, because it's a pure neshama. And it would be impossible to take a pure neshama, which is a chelek Elokah mimal, and just throw it out. It doesn't work. Then, after we have recognized this, we are saying, Ata berata, you, God, created it, and you fashioned it. Now, what does it mean? What's the difference between you created it and you fashioned it? What's the difference here?
First you made it, then you sculpted it.
This is something which we have discussed a lot when we were doing at the beginning of Bereshit. What are you suggesting?
First you brought it into being,
Right.
and then you gave it detail and
Exactly. So that is very true. First you have to create it, that it should be here in the first place, and then you can fashion it. Now, how do you understand fashioning a soul? How can you fashion a soul? How does that work?
You give it properties.
Okay, which ones?
not the personality of the person, but like everyone is unique. So
I like that. Yeah.
so to give to everyone the good balance. I mean, his own balance about it was in all his midot.
To give everybody his uniqueness. That's actually what it is. Everybody, all of us which are sitting around this table, everybody is unique in their own way.
So that's tikkun as well, the individual tikkun of that soul for that
For
generation.
this
for that lifetime.
specific lifespan, for the uniqueness of that soul.
So is that the purpose, the tikkun as
This
well?
is absolutely, that's
Everything,
the whole
everything,
reason.
yeah.
Yeah. So when Jacob is here, Jacob has got one specific mission. You've got one mission, she's got one, everybody's got one specific mission. And our tikkun in this world, and this is why we are here, we are not here to enjoy the sunshine. We are here to do the tikkun. We are here to repair, and we have to repair our specific thing. And this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu does.
Do you think that we've all been here before?
Absolutely.
All
All of us.
100%.
Since Adam, everybody was here again.
How many times is it possible that we've been here since Adam? Hundreds.
You can calculate it back. They take an average of 70 years for a generation, and take the 5,778 years and divide them up, and then you'll know how you've been here. It doesn't necessarily mean that you've done every generation, because sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu holds you back, and it brings you back when there's a specific mission for you to, in that generation, to do your tikkun in. Yeah. So let's say, I don't know. Let's say the Rambam, yeah, Maimonides, when he, in his generation, he was needed specifically for that which he did. Or I'll give you even a better example. Yesterday was Rabbeinu Tam's Yahrzeit, yeah, the memorial of Rabbeinu Tam. Rabbeinu Tam was an amazing character, if you think about it. He was a grandson of Rashi. Yeah, he was a grandson of Rashi, and you know that Rabbeinu Tam was a businessman. He had a vineyard, and he was extremely rich. He was extremely, extremely rich. He was richer than anybody else in his generation. And he created the most of the statements in Tosafot, which is the appendix to the Talmud. On one side you always have Rashi, on the other side you always have Tosafot. And if you're looking in those Tosafot, I don't have a Gemara here, otherwise I could show it. If you're looking into those Tosafot, 80% of the Tosafot are Rabbeinu Tam. So you have to imagine, we've got so many volumes of Gemara, and there are numerous pages of Gemara, and they are all filled up, packed up with Rabbeinu Tam. And except of this, he wrote commentaries on Chumash, and he wrote halachic works, and he wrote Kabbalistic works. He wrote so many works, and that is all through being a businessman. And not only that, but he was putting so much emphasis on it that people should rather be businessmen than being people sitting in yeshiva all day long from the morning till the evening, because his idea was that he was sure that everybody has got a tikkun to do in this world, and you can only do the tikkun if you get involved with the world. If you're sitting in one space,
Get your hands dirty.
yeah, you have to be out there, you have to go through the challenges, you have to go through your difficulties, and only through that you can really do your
Was he
tikkun.
taught by Rashi?
No, he was not, because he was either 5 or 9 years. There are two different opinions when Rashi passed away. But he had a bigger brother, which was called Rashbam, and Rashbam was 10 years older, I think, than him, and he taught him a lot as well. So basically, you know, Rabbeinu Tam is an amazing person, and there are two very famous things which we have from Rabbeinu Tam. One of the things is that we've got a second pair of tefillin, which is called Rabbeinu Tam's tefillin, because he argued with his own grandfather, and he said that he doesn't agree the way that he thinks that the order of the parashiyot should be in the tefillin. And the other thing which we also have is that Rabbeinu Tam came along with a new calendar in his times, and he said that we have to calculate the sunset in a different way. We have to cut it. You know, there was a specific way to know how many hours after sunrise the sunset is. And he came up with a complete new idea, a new calculation of how to calculate sunset. So according to his opinion, people before him were always doing Chilul Shabbat, because they made Shabbat come out too early. And they made Yom Kippur come out too early. And he instituted a complete new calculation to this. And from his time and onwards, there's two different way of thought. We are doing, most of us, we are doing the normal Zman, not the Rabbeinu Tam Zman, but a lot of Hasidic and Sephardi places are using the Rabbeinu Tam calendar. Okay, so Rabbeinu Tam, being a businessman, being involved in Tikkun, and at the same time doing all these great works, just amazing. Okay, and there are many others, by the way. Rashi himself was also a businessman. He was also a wine merchant. Rambam was a doctor. He was busy being a doctor all day long, and he still had time to write everything which he wrote. And he was pursued. You know, he was chased away from Morocco, from Spain to Morocco, and then in Morocco he went to Egypt, and from Egypt, he never had an easy life. And his son then went away to Israel. So, you know, these people were all involved in normal stuff, and this is what they did.
Almost came here. Feelings of like Richard Phillips, what is in his personal position, once he heard his position.
What, to England?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not. He refused. Okay, so that's it. So Atayat Sarta means that the Kodesh Baruch Hu fashions every soul in its way. Rambam was needed in that generation the way he came across. Rabbeinu Tam was needed in his generation in the way he came across. Today we've got other rabbis which are, and not only rabbis, but it's us, it's ourselves. I am needed in this space, in this place, the way I come across. If I would be somewhere else, then I would be not usable there. And the same is with you, the same is with you, with everybody the same thing. We are all in that place and in that time in exactly the same way as we need to be there. This is how Kodesh Baruch Hu fashions us, and that's how he places us in that place. Once we accept this, there are three more things which have to be realized as well. One of the things is that very soul, Kodesh Baruch Hu, blows in, breathes into a human being. And that is true probably for everybody else as well, not only for Jews, but also for non-Jews. The fact is that the Kodesh Baruch Hu, and this is at the very beginning of Parshat Bereshit, the Kodesh Baruch Hu takes the human being and he breathes into him the very soul. And once it is there, it's amazing, because we've got so many holes in all our body, and that soul doesn't manage to fly off. It is in our body. It's kept in our body only because the Kodesh Baruch Hu wants it to stay there. If at the moment that Hashem does not want our soul to be in our body, it will disappear out of.
Where's the soul? Where is it in the body, they say?
Okay, so Rabbi Tatz is teaching 5 weeks in a row on that. I have to give an answer to that question.
Not in the brain, no?
Well, it's in different places, because the Chumash tells us ki adam hu nefesh. There's a pasuk. Yeah? Blood is the nefesh. So the answer is that the neshama is made out of 4 plus 1 levels. Yeah? There's nefesh, there's chai, there's fidah, yes, and there's ruach, there's neshama. There's different types of different blockstones to a neshama, to a soul, and every blockstone lives somewhere else. The favorite thing which I always quote, which I heard from Rabbi Tatz as well, was that Adam HaRishon originally, before he did the sin, then he had the last part of his neshama was grown out of here. Have you ever seen a baby, a newborn baby? There's a part in the head, in the scalp here, which is soft. And if you touch it, then you can feel how it moves. And the reason why it moves is because that's the pressure of the blood, you know, the pulse. The same way as you can feel the pulse here, you can feel it here as well. When the baby is 3 years old, it says in scripture, then that part of the thing is hard, becomes hard. Adam, before the sin, he had here at that very point, he had this tefillin growing out. That's the reason why we are putting tefillin on the head exactly here. Because that part of the neshama which Adam lost after the sin, we are trying to compensate through the tefillin which we are putting on that place. Okay, so that's part of the answer to your question. Now, once we have this, we have to realize that when Hashem wants, when he decides for whatever reason that he's going to take away that spirit from us, this neshama, and it will be gone. But as long as he wants it to be in us. It will be safeguarded, it will be kept in us. And if he does take it away after 120, then he doesn't throw it away. But eventually, Le'asid Lavo, in the time to come, Mashiach will come, Tchiyat HaMitim will happen, when all the dead will be resurrected, and that part of the neshama will come back to us. The point which we will discuss next week, and this is the continuation of this, is an amazing insight about this. We know that when we go to sleep, and specifically if we sleep over a period of longer than 72 minutes, that's the time when we have to wash Nagelwasser. If we sleep less than that, we don't have to wash Nagelwasser. If we sleep longer, we do. And the reason for that is because the one part of our soul departs our body. Okay? Now imagine this, you're lying in bed, unconscious the whole night, because a part of our body, of our soul has left us. And the next morning, it's not even a question of us. We know that we will get up. You know that you're going to watch the football game tomorrow. You know that you're going to do business tomorrow. You know, how can you be so sure about this? How can you be so sure that Hashem is going to return that piece of soul to you in order for you to get up out of bed tomorrow morning? What's the answer to that? And the amazing thing about that is that exactly, we have got emunah, and we have got such a strong emunah that we are grateful to Hashem that Hashem trusts us to hold this holy soul in us. And that's the only reason why he brings it back. We believe that Hashem is trusting us to give us back that neshama. Imagine that I trust you to give you a crown which has got a value of 50 million pounds. I'm giving it to you today. I'll let it have you the whole day. You can use it, you can keep it. In the evening, I'll come and collect it. And you already make appointments with other clients tomorrow because you want to show it to them. How are you so sure that I'm going to give it back to you? But this is your emunah. The emunah gives you the faith and the strength to believe that the Kodesh Baruch Hu believes in you, that he's going to give it back to you. And we're going to speak more about that next week on Monday night. Any questions so far?
It's a bit of a side note. You mentioned Tosafot.
Yes.
Is that the same as Totafot?
No, that's something else. Totafot are the tefillin,
Right.
and Tosafot is a appendix to something.
So it's not the same in any way?
No,
Okay, fine.
absolutely not.
It refers to our body as being dead.
Absolutely. Because this is what that, a dead body essentially is not only, it has only also got a specific life. Otherwise you wouldn't go to the graveyard and be there to pray or do whatever, because a specific part of the neshama always hovers above the graveyard. The Gemara says that if you ate melave de malke every night, that the meal which you do on Motzei Shabbat, then there's a bone which is up here, which will stay alive, and that will be the bone